Hello, everyone. Here with John Liberatore, president and founder of Primacy 24/7. John will be joining us on Thursday, March 25th at high noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific on our webinar of the month, talking about how to prevent your nuclear verdict. John, we and I go a few years back now, and why we wanted to have you and part of the panel is something that stuck with me after working with you is, look, the best defense is a good offense. And I watched you preach about that, about being aggressive on claims management, right? So the nuclear verdict is the incident the balloon's out of control. So I just thought I'd start with this one little, so we got three teaser questions for you today to prime the pump for people. Hopefully get some excited to show up here at the end of March. So let's start with just three quick questions on the hot seat. The first one is every nuclear verdict avoidable?
I think most people would expect me to say yes, and I'm going to say no.
Please.
However, if I may add to that,
yeah,
the likelihood of a nuclear verdict can be decreased, I believe, quite a bit. The likelihood of that happening. And I think that's what we ought to work toward. We may not be perfect across the board, but we can have a put a big dent into the frequency numbers.
So when we talk about the frequency, we kind of figure out how does it happen so we can avoid it from happening. And one of the items that you put in there, or what we've discussed for the years, is the nonsense claim, where we've got a minor scratch and it turns into an injury. And this is kind of one piece of the equation here. How do we stop that?
Well, every motor carrier experiences these. Everybody is suspect to these kind of claims. Why? Because you're a big target, and plaintiff attorneys know you have $1 million. To sit back and do nothing is the cardinal sin here. Okay, you have to take action, and when you take action, you've got to do it immediately. And when you take action, what that means, excuse me, you got to collect information, and you got to collect it right away. And that includes names, photographs, I apologize, everything about that accident. It doesn't take a lot of money, but it just takes a commitment of time, and you've got to do it right away. So the accident has to be reported right away. And when that accident is reported, you have to manage the driver to give you things like pictures, names, phone numbers, et cetera. And then that information has to be utilized right away to what? To make a phone call to the people that are involved and get their version. Because if you have a scrape, and this is what we deal with many times a day, you got like a side swipe. And when you have those pictures that are shared with your claim department, I know when they're shared with us, and then we pick up the phone and immediately reach out to the claimant. And I don't care what time of night or day it is. That's the other thing we have to remember. We're in a 24/7 environment, not just we, but the industry is, and we've got to respond like that. So to reach out to the claimant to get their version immediately. Why? Before they have an opportunity to change that version, to be influenced by Uncle Harvey, Aunt Betty, anybody, and especially plaintiff counsel. Their version may change. So you want to get it early, you want to get it fresh. Two things: you cover liability, and the second thing is you ask them if they're injured. And if they say they are not injured, that's awesome. And if they say they are, then you go into a lot of detail about the movement of the body. And if they hit their head, did they hit their knee, shoulder, and you just go through a series of many, many questions, at least this is what we do, to understand what are they really alleging and does it make any sense whatsoever. So when you do this and you have this information, and then when plaintiff counsel rears their head, I didn't say ugly head, rears their head, now you have bona fide data, concrete data, information to put under their nose, and in so many words tell them, this dog is not going to hunt. And we had one of those down in Georgia about a month ago, showed the attorney the pictures and explained to him the forces were insufficient to cause injury. That phrase is very important, by the way. The attorney called 2 hours later and dropped their case. We went out and reached the two claimants directly, got a settlement and a release for a nominal sum. Claim was closed. Boom, that quick. So gather the information quickly, put it under the nose of the plaintiff attorney and tell them what your position is on these nonsense cases. That's what a strong recommendation.
What about the non-nonsense world, John? We might have been at fault. And so what you just described there was how we can avoid the courtroom in the first place. Sometimes we're at fault. How do we avoid the big one in those scenarios?
Yeah, well, the good news is the big one doesn't happen very often. So let's be real about the data, okay? But when the big one does happen, and when we say big one, let's make sure we're all on the same page. The catastrophic accident, okay, going left to center, T-boning a car, rear-ending a car at a significant speed. That's a real case. You owe it right up front. And what I recommend all the time, without question, is to get involved with the people who are involved in the accident. And it could be a phone call. It could be showing up at their door. It could be sending something to the hospital, anything that shows compassion, but true compassion, not, you don't want it to be fake because people are going to see right through it, but to reach out to people. And at a minimum, what you are garnering there is goodwill, and they will remember that. Then their attorney is never going to be able to paint you as a scoundrel organization. And when the attorney does rear their head, I always make it a point of saying to them, I want to meet your clients. I just want to sit down and express our concern and see if there's anything that we can do for them. You never know what people's lives are, what's going on in people's lives. Maybe they need a couple dollars to get over the hump of something. Maybe this has impacted them to the point where the husband can't work for a month. Whatever it might be, people have needs. And to come right out of the gate and, the humanistic approach to see how you can help people and just say, look, we're here to help you. Okay. This isn't about putting on the boxing gloves. This isn't about running away and hiding. And I'm going to tell you, Scott, too often in this industry, I get pushback from that on that approach, because people say, well, you don't want to admit anything. You don't want to say the wrong thing. You don't want to come across it. And forget it. Even if the people are scoundrels, you're going to earn some goodwill. And the other benefit is you're going to know more about them. You're going to know they're scoundrels. And then you start to look into their history, et cetera, et cetera. So you're going to be better prepared for something that may be inevitable 3 years down the road, which is litigation. So that's typically my recommendation, to get involved early with compassion.
John, appreciate it. Right. That's playing the best defense is a good offense. And that's two good stories right there of what that looks like. Appreciate you as always bringing the knowledge. These are just quick little snippets of more of what's to come with the other panelists again on Thursday, March 25th, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. We're looking forward to seeing everyone there. John, thanks for the time.
Thanks, Scott. Always good to see you. Take care.
Absolutely.